Hey, good morning and welcome to another Bible Coffee. It's great to have you all with us. I'm Travis.
And I'm Megan.
And yeah, we've got another exciting one for
Oh,
you today as we look into Genesis chapter 27.
it's going to be a long one. Take your breaks now. Take your breaks now.
All right, let's dive in.
Let's do this.
Please remember that I'll be reading from the column on the right, the JPS Tanakh translation. The column on the left is the NRSV. You are welcome to follow along on either side in your Bibles at home or just listen as we read. When Isaac was old and his eyes were too dim to see, he called his older son Esau and said to him, "My son." He answered, "Here I am." And he said, "I'm old now, and I don't know how soon I may die. Take your gear, your quiver and bow, and go out into the open and hunt me some game. Then prepare a dish for me such as I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my innermost blessing before I die." Rebekah had been listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau had gone out into the open to hunt game to bring home, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I overheard your father speaking to your brother Esau, saying, 'Bring me some game and prepare a dish for me to eat, that I may bless you, with the Lord's approval before I may die.' Now, my son, listen carefully as I instruct you. Go to the flock and fetch me 2 choice kids, and I will make of them a dish for your father, such as he likes. Then take it to your father to eat, in order that he may bless you before he dies." Jacob answered his mother Rebekah, "But my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I'm smooth-skinned. If my father touches me, I'll appear to him as a trickster and bring upon myself a curse, not a blessing." But his mother said to him, "Your curse, my son, be upon me. Just do as I say. Go fetch them for me." He got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared a dish such as his father liked. Rebekah then took the best clothes of her older son Esau, which were there in the house, and had her younger son Jacob put them on. And she covered his hands and the hairless part of his neck with the skins of the kids. Then she put in the hands of her son Jacob the dish and the bread that she had prepared. He went to his father and said, "Father." And he said, "Yes. Which of my sons are you?" Jacob said to his father, "I'm Esau, your firstborn. I've done as you told me. Pray sit up and eat of my game, that you may give me your innermost blessing." Isaac said to his son, "How did you succeed so quickly, my son?" And he said, "Because the Lord your God granted me good fortune." Isaac said to Jacob, "Come closer, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob drew close to his father Isaac, who felt him and wondered. The voice is the voice of Jacob, yet the hands are the hands of Esau. He didn't recognize him because his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, so he blessed him. And he asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" When he said, "I am," he said, "Serve me and let me eat of my son's game, that I may give you my innermost blessing." And he served him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father said to him, "Come close and kiss me, my son." And he went up and kissed him. And he smelled his clothes, and he blessed him, saying, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of the fields that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of the dew of heaven and the fat of the earth, abundance of new grain and wine. Let peoples serve you, and nations bow to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow to you. Cursed be they who curse you, blessed they who bless you." No sooner had Jacob left the presence of his father Isaac, after Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, then his brother Esau came back from his hunt. He too prepared a dish and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, Let my father sit up and eat of his son's game so that you may give me your innermost blessing. His father Isaac said to him, Who are you? And he said, I'm your son, Esau, your firstborn. Isaac was seized with very violent trembling. Who was it then, he demanded, that hunted game and brought it to me? Moreover, I ate of it before you came, and I blessed him. Now he must remain blessed. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst into wild and bitter sobbing, and said to his father, Bless me too, father. But he answered, Your brother came with guile and took away your blessing. Esau said, Was he then named Jacob that he might supplant me these 2 times? First he took away my birthright, now he's taken away my blessing. And he added, Have you not reserved a blessing for me? Isaac answered, saying to Esau, But I've made him master over you. I've given him all his brothers for servants and sustained him with grain and wine. What then can I still do for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, Have you but one blessing, father? Bless me too, father. And Esau wept aloud. And his father Isaac answered, saying to him, See, your abode shall enjoy the fat of the earth and the dew of the heaven above. Yet by your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restive, you shall break his yoke from your neck. Now Esau harbored a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing which his father had given him. And Esau said to himself, Let but the mourning period of my father come, and I will kill my brother Jacob. When the words of her older son Esau were reported to Rebekah, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, Your brother Esau is consoling himself by planning to kill you. Now, my son, listen to me. Flee at once to Haran, to my brother Laban. Stay with him a while until your brother's fury subsides, until your brother's anger against you subsides, and he forgets what you've done to him. Then I will fetch you from there. Let me not lose you both in one day. Rebekah said to Isaac, I'm disgusted with my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries a Hittite woman like these, from among the native women, what good will my life be to me? The grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of the Lord lives forever. And this is the word of the Lord. All thanks be to God. Okay. Well.
Okay. That's what we're going to say to this story.
Whose blessing is it anyway, is the question. Who does this blessing belong to?
Oh, my goodness gracious. This is like a hot mess story. This is like one of those Jerry Springer moments again. Bringing it back to Jerry. Jerry.
Say more. Why is this a Jerry Springer moment?
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about this. So, Isaac is clearly not in the best state. Sounds like he has a little glaucoma situation going on. So he's not able to know which son it is. Rebekah comes up with this plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I know what's getting ready to happen, and because you're my favorite, I want to go out there and kill some sheep, and then we're gonna cook it, and then I'm gonna make you hairy just like Esau. And then we're gonna just get you the blessing, so you are the one that is the patriarch of the family, and you are the one that takes all the blessings from Esau, which is her other son. So why even interfere in that, right? I don't know. So then he puts dead sheepskin on himself, okay? Dead sheepskin to pretend like he's Esau, and then dresses him in Esau's clothing. Jacob goes along with all of this. Goes along with the whole entire charade.
Mm-hmm.
Gets the blessing. He's like, oh, okay, great. Poor Esau. That's all I gotta say. Poor Esau.
What did Esau ever do to anybody that bring all this upon him?
He was a redhead.
Is that what it is?
He was a ginger.
Being redhead, being ginger is enough to bring all this trouble upon you?
No, that's a judgmental thing. That's a judgmental thing.
Is that why? I don't think it was because he was red and hairy that it happened to him.
I'm not saying that's why, but I'm just saying that he had bad luck.
He did.
He definitely had some bad luck in that situation. I don't think it was fair, and it brings you back to kind of like understanding like the family systems. You know, you have different brothers, or, you know, in my case, I have a brother who's absolutely amazing. Him and I are very, you know, close in that regard. I mean, we've both gone on. We have our own families and situations, so maybe not as close as we were when we were children, but we've never seen each other in a competitive situation where one needs to be over the other one in such a where you bow down to me and serve me. It's just, and the fact that the mother, 2 sons, and you know, develops and devises this whole deceitful, completely deceitful scenario to trick Isaac into giving Jacob the ultimate blessing.
Yeah.
How disgusting is that? But hold on, let's go ahead and rewind real quick. Did I mention that Jacob was wearing dead sheepskin on his hands and his neck? So
let's go ahead and stop right there.
Yeah, let's stop, please.
Because how in the world did this dead sheepskin gloves that he was wearing, with the hair still on it, not just the skin, but hairy, so
these aren't like leather gloves, ladies.
And then just a bit of it slapped on his neck or something. I'm not even sure how to envision how that happened. I'm kind of envisioning the gloves. I'm not really sure how to envision the neck.
I'm not
thing.
even envisioning the gloves. I just think it's all like gross.
But something that's interesting about this is that I think that there are Bible stories written with a comedic element in them sometimes.
I mean,
an element that we're supposed to find funny.
I find it funny that somebody would do this, but I also find it unfortunate and a little disturbing that somebody would be so deceitful. Not only just deceitful in this nature, but deceitful to your father.
Well, that's a good point. The funny part is not the deceit. The funny part is just like that little part in there about
I don't disagree with you.
Nothing
because
else.
I mean,
don't think anything else
who would
is
even
funny
do
in
that? Who would even think about doing that? But it's like, you know, this comedic, you know.
Yeah, I imagine you
process
coming to me trying to trick me with sheepskin on you, and I'm feeling you, and you don't feel like a human being. You feel like sheepskin.
You think
gloves.
I'm Bianca?
Maybe it's Bianca.
Oh, he starts petting me like Bianca. He might treat me better. Oh, hello.
Bianca's right here. She just looked at me. Said that.
Yeah, she didn't want me to take her attention.
She doesn't like that very much.
No. Don't worry, Bianca.
But yeah, so he just pulled the wool over Isaac's eyes.
Bang. Sheep's wool, that is. Oh, that's a good one. Is that where that came from?
I don't know. Somebody out there look it up. See where that
please.
Pull the wool over their eyes.
I am interested because I think it might have to do with this situation right now.
Yeah, so we got kind of a messed up situation here.
Very messed up situation. And the fact that, you know, this was not, you know, he went along with it. Like, why did Jacob go along with it when he knew
I think it's totally in his character to go along with it.
Doesn't mean it's right, though.
No, it's not right. And that's another thing. It's like when Rebecca comes up with the idea to do it, tells him about it, and Jacob's problem with it is not that it's wrong. It's like a really terrible thing to do to Isaac and to Esau. You know, that's not his problem. His problem is that what if Dad realizes that I'm not telling the truth and he thinks I'm a trickster and I end up getting blessed instead of cursed, or cursed instead of blessed.
He's worried more about getting busted than doing the right
thing. He is not worried about the right thing.
I mean, how many children do we know like that?
Felt
saying.
Felt like that was a targeted look.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so messed up situation.
But I mean, these hierarchy. What's interesting though is like these type of hierarchies still exist today, right?
Mm-hmm.
They still exist within family systems today.
That's true.
You know, my dad is the patriarch of the family. Doesn't mean that he like oversees like everything and everybody bows down. Maybe not in that same kind of sense, but I do believe that there is some kind of responsibility associated with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's interesting because in my family we haven't had much of an emphasis on a hierarchy on who was firstborn. And my dad and my uncle were actually twins, and we're I can't remember which one of them came out first, but one of them came out first, the other one came out shortly after. There was never an issue about who was firstborn. It was just something that was kind of
and I want to make sure that I'm clear about that, because even though my dad is the oldest sibling, it's so interesting because they all have these different I don't even know, gifts is how I would say it. They all have these special gifts. So it is different, but yet kind of the same. I guess from my perspective, and then always, well, who is going to carry on the name of the family, and it has to be a male, it can't be a female, and what does that truly mean? And it's like, I know we're not the only family, so I want to make sure that that's clear, because all my aunts and uncles have amazing gifts, and I think that stems directly from my grandparents and how amazing that they were.
Yeah. And that matter of importance of the firstborn, I mean, it's amazing how strong this tradition is, because this is passed down from like Bible times, and we still have some of this today. It's fascinating how long that tradition is still.
Well, I mean, and Aunt Jo participates in these Bible coffees all the time. She participates in our Sunday, sermons, and provides all this great feedback, and truly is a mentor to me. We have such great conversations, and we don't always see eye to eye, and she's so accepting and loving of everybody and everything, and there's so many things that, I admire about that. And it's just, continuing to try to be the best I can be, and and take whatever gifts I can take from the individuals who teach me. So what is it truly that Jacob is teaching anybody by being so deceitful in this situation?
Question, because we don't have the real upstanding examples. Isaac wasn't doing anything wrong. Isaac was doing what he was supposed to do. Esau was doing what he was supposed to do. But then we find Rebecca and Jacob doing their thing, and they end up coming out ahead.
That was dirty.
It was.
Let's just be honest. That was dirty. Yeah. And a lot of times in family systems, you have maybe a brother and sister, and then you might have, maybe the mother favors one more so than the other. I can see that. I can see how that can happen. But it doesn't make it right.
I always tried to get my mom to favor me.
I bet you do.
I did. And there was a time, I remember asking her, and actually I think this happened more than once, and I asked her, I was like, you like me better than Justin, don't you? You love me more than Justin,
I can imagine you
saying
it's
me and my brother Justin. It was just us two, so we had just two boys. So yeah, and I knew, because I was the church boy, and just trying to get perfect attendance at school and doing band and all this stuff. So I just I'm doing everything right. Like, I've got to be your favorite, right? But I love how she answered it. And she never let me get away with that nonsense. And she always said, I love you both the same. Period.
See, and that's amazing.
I was like, well, maybe, but come on, Mom. You can tell. And she's like, no, I love you both the same. So, yeah.
I like to believe that with my my dad. I mean, I think that he definitely, has demonstrated that over a period of time. Regardless of what it is, like my brother and I have never truly been in competition with each other. My brother's amazing. He has this amazing life, amazing family, and we appreciate that. I think of one another, and always have been the. Yeah,
I think so. Seems that way.
Yeah.
By the way, her brother Michael, shout out to Michael. Is the reason that
we're
we
together.
got together. Yeah, it was at Michael's house that
and
we
Amber.
met. Yeah.
Amber too. Amber is my sister-in-law, and Travis went to school with my brother, and I would have never.
You know, we grew up maybe a mile away from each other, and I never met her, didn't know she existed, and I had to go to Louisville to find her. And I found her. And
he
now,
got his lucky charm.
Yeah. But, so this sibling rivalry, this firstborn.
So what are we supposed to get out of this? Like, what is like truly God's message in this whole entire, situation?
That's a
You
good
know,
question.
it's not like the deceitfulness, because I don't believe that is part of God's message.
Yeah, it's like, what do we do with the deceitfulness? Because it's like,
That's hard for me to process.
Jacob does the wrong thing, comes out ahead, and becomes Israel, the father of the faith, like this great person that we look up to. But the way he got the blessing was totally underhanded.
Yeah, and Rebecca's like, I'm washing my hands. I didn't have anything to do with that. You need to go.
Right? Rebecca totally washed her hands of the whole thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because she said, look, if you get cursed, let your curse be on me. All right? And I'll deal with that.
You need to leave now because Esau might kill you.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that later. Wait till his fury is, subsided a little bit.
Yeah, for Esau is so mad about what you did. Yeah, everybody go back and read that again. It's fascinating how Rebecca kind of gets out of taking on the curse of
Yeah,
Jacob.
because you would almost just kind of like go over that. It's like, she might just like kind of goes into the background. It's like kind of like the dark corner. It's like, oh, I'm Rebecca. I'm disappearing.
And if Jacob gets any curse, then it's just Esau's hatred and his grudge, and Esau wanting to kill him, and that's kind of the curse of what Jacob did.
And I mean, poor Isaac. I mean, the way that he was, betrayed, not only by his wife, but his son.
Like you saw that, how he was violently trembling when he realized
He
what
gave
happened.
his blessing from his heart and his soul to his son, who was supposed to be Esau. And Rebecca knew that.
That's right. And Esau was his favorite son. So his favorite son, who was supposed to get the blessing.
Maybe that's the teaching, though. You should not have a favorite.
Don't have favoritism.
Light. Boop. Maybe that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Is to do like your mom did. You shouldn't have a favorite. I love you both just the same.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. I think you're on to something. Yeah, because, and actually that goes along very well with what I was thinking might be where God is speaking in this. Because I was just thinking about the blessing, and that's where God's name is mentioned.
Yeah.
God's approval of the blessing. May God bless you with such and such. And the very few times God's mentioned, even God's not speaking, in this passage.
Yeah, but think about the conflict it created or the feelings it created, negative feelings for Isaac. The negative feelings it created for Rebecca. And the negative feelings it created for Esau and, for Jacob. Like, this is not, you shouldn't have favoritism. You should hold and love everybody just the same.
And this is kind of weirdly passed down, like you're talking about family systems. With Abraham and Isaac and Ishmael in the first place, there was favoritism.
Yeah.
Abraham favored Ishmael, actually, and Ishmael was the firstborn, and he was really troubled by Ishmael not getting the blessing and the birthright that Isaac did. And Isaac was the favored child as far as the tradition.
Well, maybe it's about equality and not necessarily about various hierarchies within a family system.
And you know what? Because that's the blessing is something that God has to give, and God gives. Well, it's given, but
God
with God's
has to
approval. But it's something that comes from God that we give. Because that's like what Isaac was doing. It was just given to the person he thought it was supposed to go to. He believed it was supposed to go to, and he thought he was giving it to the right person, even though he wasn't. But that blessing was still something that comes from God. And so for Isaac to do that had to be by God's approval. Rebecca at least mentions that it comes by God's approval.
Because it was a very deep blessing. If you go back to the actual scripture in the text.
Yeah, deep, and you say, and it actually describes it as innermost blessing.
Like that was like heart and soul, blessing. But, maybe in that regard, it was his shortcoming that he favored Esau.
Yeah, I think you're
and
right.
then on the same side, it's like, Rebecca and, her drifting off into the dark corner. Maybe it was, the whole situation and why he had to flee because Esau was so upset. It's like, this created, like, definitely tension between the two brothers. And, like, none of this was good. So I definitely believe that this was a lesson learned on why you don't favor siblings.
And then this very stuff ends up getting passed down to Jacob. And Jacob's kids. Jacob's kids with Rachel and Leah.
And how unfortunate, right?
And how messy that gets.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
No, but we're getting
Spoiler
there.
alert.
Spoiler alert. About the blessing. And the problem with the blessing in this passage and in these ancient passages is that the blessing has to go to one person and the other person doesn't get it.
Yeah, like he couldn't even like resend it, right? He couldn't even like say, well, I can bless you too. Like, you guys can be on equal playing ground. There always has to be somebody above another person. And we find that every single day in our society, right? This is something that has continued, whether it be by race, religion, freaking status, social status within our communities. There's always a hierarchy that's associated with people. And does that really make sense? Look at this situation. We have a buck.
And I was a little worried Bianca was about to knock down the camera there.
Come on over, sir. Maybe deers like to hear the message.
But so yeah, with this, of course, it's with the birthright and the land and the possessions, so it can only be passed down to one person.
But these are material things. It can not only be passed down to one person.
Well,
I think
as far as the
over
culture
time,
was concerned.
Yeah, over time. So at that point in time, absolutely 110% agree that, at that point in time, because clearly women weren't part of that situation as well.
A whole nother part of the story, yeah.
So.
Now the thing is we today as Christians, followers of Jesus, we can look back at this and say and see this blessing that was handed down to Isaac, and see that this is something that we have inherited through Christ, that blessing. And through Christ we see that there's no partiality. We see that putting, placing the hierarchy of who's better and who's worse is totally wrong. And we find in Christ that blessing goes to everybody.
Because we get into that judgment, right? Because that's part of the judgment.
Yeah.
Is judging.
Who should get it and who shouldn't.
Right. Who's better.
Yeah.
Whether it be by time, from the time that they were born. I'm sorry, we have a male deer that wants to hear the message today.
I'm just going to bring Bianca up so you all can see her feed a baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, how are we going to finish the video with you being so loud?
Okay, what do you have to say about this? What do you think about this, Bianca? What do you have to say about this? What do you think about the boys taking all of it? That's exactly what I think too. Oh, you don't think Jacob was right in this situation? I agree with you. I agree.
Okay, all right. Well, we got Bianca's input. Thank you thank goodness for that.
Oh yeah, we definitely needed it.
So, but yeah, I think you're right that this is probably very likely where God is speaking today.
Oh, don't you play with me.
That deer is back there. He doesn't want to get in the
play?
picture.
Don't you sniff at my baby like, oh yeah? You want to play? You want to play? Come over here if you want to play. You're not going to come on my baby like that. Did you hear it? Sniffing? A little huff, huff pounding.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, Mama's back. All right. So, but yeah, the blessing, I think you're absolutely right. If God's speaking anywhere, maybe this is a good place that God is speaking, because we're hearing this message about that this whole partiality, this favoritism is wrong, and that's not how we should treat each other, whether it be family or anybody else.
Right. And, yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
And God does not treat us with this kind of partiality, even though we see it in these ancient stories about the blessing. But now I'll remind you also, because even though not all the inheritance can go to everybody, remember with Isaac and Ishmael, that even though the inheritance went to Isaac, Ishmael was still blessed. And Ishmael still had the blessing of,
Yeah, I think there's a difference
nations
between
and
monetary blessings versus God's blessings.
now in Christ, all that stuff has been wiped away. There is no difference.
Right.
So.
Which is beautiful.
Mhm.
And that's the way it should be.
And
And
God-
that's the way we should see everybody every day when we are having a situation where we think somebody is less than us, is a reminder,
Mhm.
on how we should be treating one another.
That's right. God's got this blessing for all of us, and God's calling us to bless each other.
And there's a
as part of
purpose
that.
for all of us. Every time that we meet somebody, interact with somebody, there is a reason for it. That's at least in my mind.
Yeah. Amen.
Oh, this was an interesting story.
It was. This is a good one.
It was definitely interesting.
And so pictures this week. We'll show you this picture again because nobody's guessed it yet. We're getting
What?
tricky with
Linda,
these
where you at?
pictures. Oh, and this is writing on a wall. What city is this in? It's a
Nobody
very
guessed that
relevant
one yet?
city. No, nobody's got it yet. Linda's got some really good guesses on it, but she hasn't got the one yet.
She doesn't guess the fact of where it is and what we've been talking about for the last few weeks.
Oh boy, Megan's giving you the eye now. And then we've got another picture right now, right there. And this picture, we're still looking for somebody to figure out what in the world is this. Both of these pictures are very, very relevant to what we're talking about.
Is it what we're talking about today? The places, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not specifically in what the characters and what the people are doing in the story, but it is very, very important to these characters in the story.
Father
and it will come back
Abraham
around.
had many
It has come
sons.
around before.
Many sons had Father Abraham. I am one of them. So are you.
So let's all praise the Lord. Right foot, right. I think there was like right foot, left foot, and then you're like marching.
Okay, we're not going to embarrass him.
I'm going to have to teach her that.
Teach me as soon as he
song
figures
and the
it out.
motions, and yeah, we'll get back.
As soon as he figures it out.
Well, everybody, thank you very much for joining us for another Bible Coffee. It's
Yeah.
been a live one.
Woo! This one's got me excited. We might have some more conversations today.
Oh, yes. So the entertainment never ends as long as Megan's involved here, does it?
Whatever.
Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you all. These stories are amazing, and I hope you all are enjoying them as much as we are. I just can't get enough. Thank you all. Peace be with you. God bless you. Love you, and we'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll see you on Sunday too at worship.
That's right. Have a nice day.
God bless you.
Have a nice day. I got the last word.